is President Trump's personal attorney, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Let me start with Mueller. How is this case impacted? Because Strzok is at the heart of all of it. He claims.
I mean, he's played a much bigger role in this than a lot of the media wants to admit. I mean, first of all, he was there at the very beginning. He wrote all the initial documents justifying this investigation. He ran it for 11 months. He conducted the critical interview of Flynn with the very strange situation where Flynn pled guilty to a lie that the FBI said he wasn't guilty of. Go figure that out. He's the one who was carrying the dossier and using the dossier to justify the FISA wires. That has to be all unraveled. There's no doubt that there are 4 false affidavits filed with the FISA court. Fraud. Lying in an affidavit to the FISA court. The guy responsible for those was largely Strzok. He gathered the evidence, non-evidence. The dossier is absurd.
It's a political document bought and paid
totally
for.
Ridiculous. It
Russian document.
It says provably false things, like Cohen was in Prague. He wasn't in Prague. It says that there were real estate deals with the Russians. There were no real estate deals with the Russians. It has Trump.
The hookers in the bed was my.
Yeah. He was with. I mean, they have evidence he was with hookers in a bed.
Debunked. Yeah,
debunked. Completely debunked. Got the dates all wrong. It's a cut and paste job by a down and out ex spy, English spy who hated Trump. Hated and was paid by Hillary Clinton and the DNC.
But they spread this information, Mr. Mayor, to lie to the American people, too, and lie to the court.
The Justice Department, the Trump Justice Department, is hiding those affidavits on the grounds that the affidavits contain national security information. Well, my goodness, here are the things we need to know about it. Was the fact that Hillary Clinton and the DNC, the people who paid for this, was that pointed out to the judge?
Right.
Because if it wasn't, you got a glaring omission. Was it pointed out that Steele, during the course of this, was fired by the FBI? Were his problems in his background exposed to the judge? I mean, when you present this guy, was he presented as a fully reliable informant, or were the questions? You have to do that in an affidavit. I wrote many of these affidavits.
They never told the court in these applications that Hillary paid for it. They purposely withheld that information.
Well, that would have been a non-starter.
But they never verified any of the information in there anyway.
So here's the point: Strzok created a false document. When we say, is there any evidence that his bias led to action that he took against Trump? Yeah. He perjured himself in an affidavit in order to start his insurance policy investigation. They were hoping they could do something with that before the election. But they ran into the same problem Mueller runs into. The president didn't do anything wrong. They couldn't find any evidence. They struck out. On a couple of days before he was inaugurated, they had to proclaim there was no evidence of collusion, which is not a crime anyway.
Is there any update since you were on with us last, and that is that you responded to Mueller in terms of any potential that there'll be a discussion with the president?
No, they think they have all the time in the world, I guess. I don't know. They haven't responded.
Said it should be over by September.
Well, I think that we are running into a real big problem for them. If they try to drag this thing much into September, you've got a very clear violation of the Justice Department policy not to interfere with elections. Comey was just excoriated for that by Horowitz. It'll just be another list of their irregularities, their unethical performance, their unwillingness to follow sensible rules. They could have done this. We could have concluded this interview thing 2 months ago and decided yes or no on it. And their report could be done by now. It looks like they're slowing down. You know, they're running out the clock.
The media would look at the 2005 tax case that has nothing to do with Russia, nothing to do with the campaign, nothing to do with the president. Manafort tax case from 2005 is the trial of the century. Okay, that case. Well, that's really how they're portraying it. But more seriously, when we talk about Strzok and Comey and McCabe and Page and all these other people in the FBI and the DOJ at the highest levels, do you see crimes?
Oh, absolutely. I just told you one. The perjury on the affidavit. I was telling you about Hillary crimes a year before Comey outlined them all. I'm pretty good at picking out crimes.
How did she get off scot-free in all this?
She got off because it was a fixed investigation, a totally phony fixed investigation.
Can she still be indicted?
Run by Peter Strzok, who then turns around. The dossier is obtained on the day that they dropped the case against Trump. against Hillary. So that case gets dropped, and they have to even up the score
the next day
and go after Trump the next day. Now, the reality is, I'm going to tell you, and we don't have the time to go into it, we can do it later. I'm going to tell you who orchestrated. There was a quarterback for all this. It isn't just Strzok. He's a bit of a puppet. Then there's Mueller. He's a puppet. People working for him some of them are really... I
have a funny feel you're about to drop a bomb on me. Go ahead.
The guy running it is Brennan. And he should be in front of a grand jury.
Is Brennan.
Brennan,
CIA director.
Brennan took an affidavit, a dossier, that unless he's the biggest idiot intelligence agent that ever existed, although he never really did much intelligence work, it's false. You can look at it and laugh at it. He peddled it to Harry Reid. That led to the request for the investigation. So he takes a false affidavit, a false dossier. He gets the senators involved, and a couple of Republican senators, and they demand an investigation, a totally phony investigation. Now, why can't we get an investigation when there are clear facts showing possible violations of the law?
Why can't we?
Even in the order appointing Mueller, which is completely illegitimate, they don't point out any crime. You have to point out a crime under the independent counsel regulations. They don't point it out. We have lots of crimes, and we can't get Sessions to move and appoint an independent counsel. He's recused from it. He's recused from everything. And Rosenstein is too much involved in it, and they're possible witnesses.
By the way, Rosenstein signed the last FISA warrant.
Well, that's why he's a possible witness and possible anything else.
Mr. Mayor, great to see you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Independent counsel to investigate the investigators.